Meherban. Let's see here. There'll be songs and poetry this afternoon. Uh, let's see. These songs and poetry are from inspirations given by beloved Baba over the past 47 years that I've lived in Meherabad. One type of poetry I will present is called haiku, which is in a Japanese form of poetry with 3 lines. Inspired by Baba every day for the last 5 years, I have written a haiku which I send out to people I love all over the world. This is an example of that. Desert plateau night, dust settles under moonlight, handed down from day. I'm going to, the songs I'll be singing are only the songs that I've written. And I've never written a song before I went to Meherabad. So these are all only songs that I wrote. This one is called Just Be With Me. And what had happened was I was working in South India, preparing myself to come to live at Meherabad. And occasionally I would get time to come up to Meherabad, Merazad for a week or a weekend or something like that. And so I would. And on one of those occasions, the Pilgrim Center was being built at that time. And Erico came to me and he said, could you count these cement bags coming into the storeroom so we know how many we're getting? We don't get cheated. And I said, sure. So I sat there counting. Cement was very hard to get at that time in India also. It was a big deal how much you got, where you got it, which I didn't understand completely, but Erica filled me in. And so I was watching the bags go into the go down, counting them along. And as I'm sitting there, I get this idea to write this poem. And I start jotting it down. And just as it came out just like this. And I put it down and I read it. And I thought, I kind of like that. And so anything that I had that I really thought was nice or good, I would share with Mara as soon as I could. And so the next day, I was at Mirazad and I read this poem out to Mara. And she said, that's for me, give it to me. And she took it from me. And then, and I left, and it was the only copy I had. I thought that was that. And a few weeks later, when I had the time again to come back to Mirazad, she pulled it out and she'd had Rick Flynn, I don't know if anyone knows who he is, from Atlanta, had written music to it. So then she had me learn to sing it. And this is that. And she said it was her favorite song. And the women in the household said she would sing it to herself all the time in the house. So this is it. Just be with me, the answer came. I love you as you are, my dear. Don't worry what to do. Desire is all you have to tame. My sword of love will slay your fears. Don't worry what to do. I am the one, my time has come. Love triumphs over all. Don't worry what to do, my dear. Just be with me as you are. I'll always be with you. I'll always be with you. No, here's another haiku. Most of these haikus are going to be have been written on Duni Day, because a friend of mine, when I was putting this together, he said these are the best. We pulled them all out. So this is from Duni Day. Fire's promise upheld, a flare in the evening light. Love burns bright tonight. Can you read that again? Sure. Oh, sure. Ask me to repeat them if you'd like, because they require repetition, actually. Fire's promise upheld, a flare in the evening light. Love burns bright tonight. This is a piece of poetry I wrote at Mirabeau. There was that I mentioned it, I think today or yesterday, about this period where I did night watch on the hill with Erico. And we had this, I had the, what we experienced was I turned to him about after the first 3 nights, and as we were walking down the hill in the morning, we were both like intoxicated. We couldn't, there was some rarefied atmosphere, something was going on. And I turned to Eric and I said, it feels to me like there's a giant Baba. Baba is sitting on the samadhi like it's a throne, and his legs are hanging down, but his feet are at the door. But he's huge, he's big, and the entire spiritual hierarchy is filing by him, paying their respects to the avatar of the age. And I said, you and I are kind of like gatekeepers or something. And Erica said, that's exactly my experience too. So during that time, Erica was learning to write Persian poetry, ghazals, which have these long descriptive lines, and they're something called a cumulative meter. And also there would be a rhyme, a same word would rhyme at the end of each sentence. So I tried my hand at some of those just to see what would happen. And then these come from that time, that intoxication. I would write them in the night because we were both pretty intoxicated by that atmosphere. Heather thought we were losing our minds. She went to Padre, and Padre said, oh, don't worry, it'll pass. No. And it did. Sunrise, and waking is announced with dawn's rosy glow. Still day follows night in this desert where nothing grows. The flick of lashes as your eyes open and look out upon the tavern on the new day have cut me to the heart where blood and wine mix, and intoxicated as my life flows away. Why don't you turn your wounding glances upon the clouds, reservoir of tears, cutting with your lovely lashes the rain's confinement for all these years? No doubt it is your wish that famine should set me free, but have mercy, my beloved, on creation's daily needs. What do I care about this drought? Sunrise, my own pyre was set on fire. I lie burning now day and night to the music of the sun's flaming lyre. Anyway, that was that. There was an occasion a time where Mani had decided that she wanted someone at Mehrabad to learn classical Indian music. So she asked Eric and I if were interested, and she found a tutor for us. It was an 83-year-old Indian man who had been an all India radio performer. And we engaged him to come out twice a week and tutor the two of us in classical Indian music. And in classical Indian music, when you study it, you can't just learn voice, which is all we were really interested in. You have to learn an instrument too. So I learned tabla, and Erico learned harmonium. And we went through this course of learning ragas. And at the end, after about a year, he wanted us to take the government exam. There was evidently some government exam for learning so many ragas. So he told us where the government examiner was coming from Pune and where the place would be. And we two of us went into town on that date, went to this place. And there we were with little kids about this tall. And there's Eric and I standing. And it was the primary level of music education. And the examiner was blind, and so we presented what we had to present to him, and he asked us some questions, and we both got first class first and 100%, and were written up in the newspaper and all. It was kind of crazy. And but he was very insightful. He turned toward Erico and said, "You're better in theory." And then he looked at me, he said, but you're better in the practical. The, which was sort of our lives together. Um, anyway, this is a Marathi song that a lot of us learned at Mehrabad. Something that Baba liked a lot. He liked Tukaram. I don't know if any of you know who Tukaram was. Baba liked Tukaram. And Erich also liked Tukaram. In fact, in the last year of Erich's life, he would watch this film from the 1930s on Tukaram almost 2 or 3 times in a week. It was so, and it's a very wonderful film. There's a great feeling to it. Anyway, this is the kind of songs that Tukaram wrote were called abangs. And this is an abang. And what it basically says is, God is mine and I am God's. And it just repeats that over and over. It was saying, asking God to hear what I'm saying, asking God uh, to 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 see me, and asking God to asking what I'm questioning, asking what I'm saying, and asking to see me. But it's the rhythm of the song and the sound of the song is really quite pleasant. Deva Madhami Devata, Deva Madhami Devata, Satya Bole Mahadivashana, Satya Bole Mahadivashana, Deva Madhami Devata, Deva Pahavya Sigelo, Deva Pahavya Sigelo. Tete Deva Ho Nitelo, Tete Deva Ho Nitelo, Deva Mata Mi Devata, Deva Tukamane Keli Orakana, Tukamane Keli Orakana. Deva Aike Madhibashana, Deva Aike Madhibashana, Deva Madhami Devatsa, Deva Madhami Devatsa. Tukaram was I was a simple farmer, Maharashtrian farmer, and very simple man, but a perfect master. And there's all sorts of stories about him. Here's another haiku. Rising in the night, sacrifice blazes the way, the promise is kept. Sure. Rising in the night, sacrifice blazes the way, the promise is kept. 5 more times, please. Sure. Rising in the night, sacrifice blazes the way, the promise is kept. All right, let's see. Here's one of those poems from that time. Now that the fire which burns from inside out has been fanned into a blaze, this forest of self smolders with sparks, smoke, and ash, obscuring my blaze. I held my head downcast, or I would cry. I had kept the kindling of my heart completely dry. If smoke should reach my eyes and a single tear escape, it's only that I looked up and tried to see your face. The vision of your sweet face with silent lips was more than I could take. So with compassion, you sowed your sparks of love and vanished for my sake. With every spark, a flame begins, where winds can stoke a fire. Each fire is fed with decaying stuff, gnarled limbs, leaves, and dry mire. And even if a storm should come with rains to quench this fire, the shelter of my chest will keep it safe as it burns still higher. The winds which make these flames rise up must surely blow this smoke aside. Then, beloved, try to keep me from your glances. At your feet I lie. Another haiku. Each flame thrills the heart, your love untrammeled and free, burning obstacles. This is so. When after having written that first song and Mara liked it so much, I wanted to write a song for Mara, and it wasn't just spontaneous. I had to work on this one. So this is a song I wrote for Mara. Grunt throat. In my awakening, you were sown, and by my glances, you have grown, become a garland around my heart. It is my wish that you should play a part. Open up, dear sleeping bud, and let your petals sigh with love. Become a garland around my heart. It is my wish that you should play a part. The morning sun is how I bless with the light of waking's sweet caress. Become a garland around my heart. It is my wish that you should play a part. Let your love bloom with a scent divine, then string each blossom along perfection's line. Become a garland around my heart. It is my wish that you should play a part. So circle around me until the time when fragrant string and blossom are lost in being mine. Become a garland around my heart. It is my wish that you should play a part. Become a garland around my heart. All right. Duni again. One more, another haiku. Your flaming mercy. Rain came in response to fire. Promises made in love. Your flaming mercy. Rain came in the response to fire. Promises made again. It made in love. Let me read it again. Your flaming mercy. Rain came in response to fire. Promises made in love. All right. Oh, this is right. When Muhammad died, I haven't talked much about Muhammad, but he was played a very big part in my life. Muhammad the Must, who lived at Mehrabad. He was a fifth plane must and got intoxicated. And it was, I always marveled at the fact that, I had like a fifth plane must as a friend. It was like unbelievable. And he was wonderful. And he was like a child. And at the same time, he had the authority of the fifth plane behind him. So it was dangerous. Padre called him the tiger's child. He, I was fortunate that he liked me, and I became the only person he would let give him change his bedding when he went for his bath. When Erica was his main caregiver, but when Erica was away, I would bathe him, take care of him. But my main duty, I was the the master of the bed. He would call me Kata Tamalik because I was the only one he would let change his bed. I was the only one for a huge period of time he would let wash his butt when he took a crap. Then, literally, one time I came back from Nugger, his servant was waiting at my room, said, Muhammad's been sitting on the pot for an hour waiting for you. He won't let anyone clean his bottom except you. So I had to go over and wash his butt, and then you had to clean the pot with red earth, only red earth. So, and then clean the pot and then put it back, and he would want to look at it and make sure I did it right, or whatever he was doing. Uh, he demonstrated to me several times that he knew everything I was thinking. That there were no secrets with Muhammad. Oh, one of those occasions, I'd gotten ill. I was actually got pneumonia suddenly, kind of overnight from a cold. And Erica was away, and it was midweek, and I was really worried about having to bathe him on Monday. This was Wednesday because I was gonna you'd sit on the ground and bathe him, and you get wet, and then the wind would blow on you, and because the door was open, and you'd get chilled, and I was worried about how to do that. How was I going to bathe him in this condition? So the day came. I go and get Muhammad, and he's in a mood to stare at things. Me bagto. And you just stop and stare at a door frame or stare at a stone. It took forever to walk him from his bed to the bathroom. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, I'm sick. Oh, I'm Stephen. What am I going to do? And I don't want to get cold. And so we finally get to the bath stall, and we go in the stall and sit down, and then he's going to stare at the door frame in the bath stall. And I say, I like a whiny child, I say to Muhammad, I need to give you a bath. I don't want to get in the wind. I'm sick. I've got fever. I'm sick. He kind of looks over and he says, what are you worried about? You're going to be all right by God's grace. And I kind of looked at him and I said, yes. But I was still a whiny child. And I said, yeah, but why am I so sick? And then he kind of stares off in the distance and he says, you ate four tangerines on Wednesday night. Now this is Monday. And that's why you got you got this sick. You ate four tangerines on Wednesday night. And that was true. So in India, there's a tradition that you shouldn't have anything sour when you have a respiratory infection. And I had eaten tangerines. They tasted good, but that's why I got sick. So I thought, okay. Anyway, when he died, it was a shock for all of us, because Eric and Heather and myself and Janet, not so much Ted, but we were all involved in different ways in taking care of him. We were like his kids. And I was sitting on the back steps of the bungalow where Mom had stayed. We'd just given him a bath in the bathroom inside the building by his body, Janet and Heather and Eric and myself. And I came out and I was sitting down, and Heather came over to me and sat down. And she said, are you okay? And I said, I never realized when I came here, when I was so young, that I would have to endure so much loss because all the Mandali were so old and Muhammad was old. And of course, I would experience the loss. I said, I never realized how much loss I would have to experience. It was a moment. Anyway, this song came out of that experience, that time, and trying to resolve that sense of loss. In your silence, I can hear you in my heart. In your silence, nothing can keep us apart. Your presence creates true relationship. Your company makes known companionship. In your silence, I can hear you in my heart. In your silence, nothing can keep us apart. For love there is no time. I am yours and you are mine. In your silence, I can hear you in my heart. In your silence, nothing can keep us apart. Trouble and pain, fear and loss, you with me with you, together. You with me with you, together. In your silence, I can hear you in my heart, in your silence. Nothing can keep us apart, in your silence, in your silence. Another haiku. The fire burning still, receiving and giving free, blazing and crackling. The fire burning still, receiving and giving freely, blazing and crackling. The fire burning still, receiving and giving free, blazing and crackling. I like the duty a lot. You know, it's very always, it always lifts my day. It's wonderful. I love the duty. This is a song that if the when I heard the translation, it's in Urdu. It was written by a man named Simab some hundreds of years ago. And when I heard the translation of the first line, I thought this is the most beautiful piece of poetry I've ever seen. Because what it says, it's the beloved has proposed the question to the lover. Why are you with me? What have you gained by being here? Why do you stay? Assume that question. Those questions have been posed by the guru, and the chelo or the lover responds with, "When I found you, I found the address to everything. Through heartache, I discovered I had a heart, and what the address was of my heart. I found my house. I found the place where I belong. I found everything just by finding your footprint." So these are those lines from this. And this, what happened in this ghazal, when someone was singing it in Guru Prasad one time, Baba stopped the program and he said, and he just stopped the program and he was sitting there and he was doing the fingers were going and everyone was silent. And then he came out of that and he said, "I'm so pleased with this ghazal because now I'm going to tell you the third line, which says, uh, I even found God in human form when I found you." Now that is blasphemy in the Muslim faith. And but this guy said it out. So and that's the line where Baba stopped them. And he said, "I've just given Simab mukti wherever he is." So I'll sing just a couple of the lines of that. Well, Heather and I kind of, we joked, a bank teller somewhere suddenly goes, blinks out, realize. अब क्या बताओ मैं तेरे मिलने से क्या मिला अब क्या बताओ मैं तेरे मिलने से क्या मिला इरफान गम हुआ मुझे दिल का पार मिला इरफान गम हुआ मुझे अपना पता मिला मंजिल मिली मिला जो तेरा तुझे नक्शे पा मिला. That that's just, I just like the song. That's all. The first line says, "How can how can I tell you who know everything?" The assumption is, "How can I tell you who are perfect, who knows everything, what I gained when I found you? Through heartache, I discovered I had a heart, and I found the address of my heart." And then it says, "I found my house. I found the place where my house was. I found the whole of my where I should be in the world when I found you. Just by finding your footprint, I gained all that." And then it says, and not only that, I found God in human form. Akshar Kuda Mila. That basically that's it. All right, let's see what else is new. Another haiku. Ablaze, wild and free, strike a match, begin the praise. Love's fire burning pure. Ablaze, wild and free. Strike a match, begin the praise. Love's fire burning pure. Here's one of those poems from that time of great intoxication. I know this life of work and rest is nothing but a dream, but dreams of you come in flowing robes, come in the night as beams. There you stood so young and beautiful, with silken hair. My eyes could barely stand the sight, yet still I stared. I called myself a slave to beauty, strove to find its place, but never dreamed that all I sought I'd find in one man's face. Your glances flash, let arrows fly, that sealed my fate at last. Not beauty alone, but love had come and asked, would I be steadfast? We walked together on the lawn. Your step far outdid mine. Through the crowd I struggled to your side to find I'd lost you another time. And finally, to my door you came and opened up your arms, but said, annihilation came, embracing all your charms. I asked, would it sustain me? With my load, you answered yes. And in your arms I said, beloved, beloved. There was an old man, a member of the Mandali, who came from Erangel. His name was Sidhu Kamble. He and his wife Radha lived at Mehrabad, but he was came from a lower caste, the scheduled caste, what they call. He was uneducated, but he was sort of one of the he was someone who Baba had taken care of Mus. When Mus would come, he would take care of them. And he and his wife were taking care of Muhammad until they passed away, and that's when Eric and the rest of us took over. So when a lot of English-speaking people started coming to Mehrabad after Baba dropped the body, he wanted to sing a song for them. So Bauji wrote a song for him, which he would sing it at Duni every month. And this is that song. Mehere Baba, Mehere Baba, Mehere Baba, God man. Mehere Baba, Mehere Baba, Mehere Baba, God man. He is ever birthless, he is ever deathless, but he comes in man form, even for the faithless. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. He is here, he is there, his house is everywhere. He is here, he is there, his house is everywhere, 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 everywhere. And where I am not, he is always found there. And where I am not, he is always found there. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. Whatever he has shown, whatever he has shown, whatever he has shown, he does entirely. Do not do anything while doing everything. Do not do anything while doing everything. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, God man. So if there are any questions, that's what I've got of that. How's our time? So One more minute. All right. Yes. Yes. First haiku. Sure. Haiku. I started writing when I was in college. I used to write 5 a day. It's 3 syllables in I mean 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, and 5 syllables in the third line. And somehow it appeals to me. Oh, the one, oh, right, up after the introduction, right. Desert plateau night, dust settles under moonlight, handed down from day. Desert plateau night, dust settles under moonlight, handed down from day. Mhm. Any other questions? Sure. Well, one of the first things I realized very early on with with the monolith, they are completely natural. There's no art. There's no artifice here of much of any. They're so natural with everything. They're so because they accept everything. They're that naturalness I've worked to have, to be at ease, to love the person that Baba loves. That's me, not something else, but the person that he loves. To respect that and be natural and to live in that awareness of he loves me. That makes it everything worthwhile. I mean, what does anyone want? What do we all really want? What do you want? I want to be loved. The rest of it is all window dressing, really. Does that answer your question at all? Huh. I don't, I've never felt that I gave up anything. Never. From the first day I went there, I gained. I didn't lose. I didn't lose anything. I gained. It's the privilege of living there, serving there. It's the environment is so rich with forgetfulness of self. It's different than the world, the regular world. There are conflicts, there are problems, there are, there's jealousies, there's competition. All that exists there within Maribod. Um, I don't know if any of you know what the Mahabharata is that book about the war between the Krishna's, the tribes that were associated with Krishna. Erich would say, Mehrabad is Kurukshetra of this time. Kurukshetra is the ground on which the battle took place. You know, it's, oh, I was going to, well, maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow. All right. Certainly. Padre specifically was the manager of Maribad. So, although the other Mandli, of course, we would see and have time with and experience with, but Padre was the one we lived with.
They have done, did you ever feel rudderless? And if not, how did you stay there, you continued to stay there, how did you reinvent yourself or?
No, when Mara died, I remember feeling from time to time things that would come up, things would happen or come up, and I'd want to share them with Mara. I think, but I can't now. She's gone. It's like some things like that, just simple little sweetnesses.
Kind of a shift when Padre died.
Pardon?
It was a shift when Padre died.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It was a big shift when Padre died. But 83 wasn't it? I think it was 83. But, but there've been so many changes in the life there. It's quite different. There are things about the changes that concern me. When we I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. Is there time, or should I?
Yes.
The atmosphere at that time when we went when we went there, so things would happen like Erich read the Nazarene, a book about Christ, and he said reading it, it was like having lived that Advent with Christ. So all of us read it, and we all gained this experience from that book of that Erich had, identifying with Jesus as Baba, and this experience of his life as the avatar as Christ, Baba as Christ. Then the Mahabharata came through, and we all read the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, and but in the context, I mean, the first time I ever read the Gita, I read it in New York City, sitting in Bruce Hoffman's apartment. In one sitting, I read the whole thing, weeping profusely, because it's a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. It's a conversation between God and a man. And it was just like Baba and I talking. The whole thing I experienced, and Baba gave me that experience. It was he and I having this conversation. The Ramayana, I sat out under a tree by a well, by the Bhavan One well, out that side of Maribad. This isolated little well with a grove of trees around it. I sat out there and would read this, and Ram was in the forest for much of the book. And the nobility of Ram. And it's so easy to identify it with Baba. There was no stretch there. It was just natural to see Ram as Baba and Baba as Ram. And so things like that would happen where Milarepa and Varpa, his master, was a topic for a while. Because when people would complain that Baba was too demanding, Baba would say, read about Milarepa's life with his master Marpa. Then tell me I'm too demanding. Milarepa's master made him build 7 different houses with no help from anybody, and then tear them down with Milarepa saying, "Who told you to build that house? Get out of here. You either leave or you take it apart and put every stone back where you got it." And so it was at the end of the Milarepa story when he got realization, Marpa said to him, "If I could have pushed you into despair 7 times, I could give you realization. But the 7th time couldn't happen because my wife had so much compassion for you. She would feed you." He said, "So now you have to go sit on that mountaintop for 7 years, and then you'll get realization." Marpa and Milarepa's story is fantastic. I mean, Marpa was the Tibetan who came to India and brought Buddhism back to Tibet. And Milarepa was the master who spread Buddhism throughout Tibet. So those kinds of topics were the things that were our kind of our atmospheric conversation, right, Jacko? John, do you remember that? Jacko, you it kind of flow through everything there for some topics, some interests the Mandali had put out, and then we would all engage in. And so you gained this wealth of experience because it was but with Baba. It wasn't just reading. You didn't gain knowledge. You gained experience because I experienced every one of those avatars as Baba. So it was quite fantastic. I hope we can get back to that. I myself am reading the Gita right now, which is so wonderful. My favorite translation is Christopher Isherwood's. That quite. And why is it Christopher? Because it's in contemporary English, like Bob, like the discourses. It reads like the discourse. Jai Baba, everybody.